Joining us now for more is Richard Painter, former chief White House ethics lawyer from 2005 to 2007 under President George W. Bush. Richard, it's good to have you on the show this morning. A highly anticipated hearing today. I mean, legally, politically, how big are the stakes here?
Well, unfortunately, this hearing is being turned into a political circus, particularly by the majority. Unfortunately, the focus should be on how do we protect classified documents. This should never have happened. We never should have had Vice President Pence take classified documents, and certainly, of course, former President Trump. Why can't the government keep track of its classified documents? It seems that the local library has a better chance of tracking down a checked out book that hasn't been returned than the U.S. government does classified documents. The government should have known about these documents and found them a long time ago. We had one trove of documents sitting in the custody of the University of Pennsylvania in a rented office space in downtown Washington, D.C. For 6 years, 2 years into Biden's presidency, classified documents that people had access to quite easily in a so-called locked closet. I don't know why the National Archives can't seem to figure out a way to have people keep track of these documents so the government can recall them. I worked with President Bush on classified documents. I lectured the White House staff on the importance of keeping track of classified documents and not ever letting anything like this happen. And it's very, very unfortunate.
We'll see if we get any clarity on that, or if the main focus today is of the mental acuity details that he included in his report. I understand Hur has been thoroughly preparing for today's testimony with DOJ colleagues, his attorney, who also represented special counsel John Durham. What do you think Hur's main goal and objective is today?
Well, to get out of there without being ripped to shreds by both sides. Unfortunately, I believe that he included in this report some discussion of the president's mental acuity, which really wasn't necessary. He should have focused only on the classified documents in the report and the fact that the president apparently does not remember anything having to do with these documents. And certainly there is a memory lapse with respect to the classified documents. And Americans can take from that what they will, but the special prosecutor should not have strayed into the president's memory on other things, and particularly personal matters such as the death of his son, Beau.
Why do you think he did it then? What merit do you think he thought that added to the report?
Well, I can't, speculate as to what he thought when he was doing that. It just doesn't. It was well beyond what he was supposed to be doing. I believe that he may very well thought that the president lacked memory in a range of different areas, not just with respect to the documents. But what's important here is the documents. And he did not believe that President Biden remembered much that happened with these documents, and therefore it might be very difficult to go to trial with a criminal case. He should have simply said that and not discussed the president's memory in other areas, which is, of course, going to be a big focus, because I don't think Congress cares about classified information. They just care about who's going to win the election in the fall.
It is a big political year, that's for sure. I know those closest to her say his intent today is to turn down the political temperature around this report in the wake of its release. We'll see, if he offers clarity on the documents and what he's able to achieve today. Richard Painter, thank you so much. Thanks for watching, everybody. Go to joinnn.com to find NewsNation on your television provider. Also, don't forget to click that red subscribe button below to get more of NewsNation's fact-driven, unbiased coverage.